Hello everyone, this is Neil from Edureka and welcome to today's session on Java API. Now without wasting any time, let's move forward and look at today's agenda. Now today's session is mainly a practical session, but before we begin the practical aspect, there is some amount of theoretical knowledge that you need to have. So what we'll be doing is first we'll be trying to understand what is an API and how an API fits into Java. After that, we'll have a brief introduction to what is a REST API and how it works out. Then we'll move on to a demo part where we'll be building a RESTful web service. So I hope you guys are clear with today's session. Can you give me a quick confirmation in the chat box? Okay, so I have a question here from Richie. Richie is asking me, will I be able to create a RESTful web service after the session? Definitely, Richie. Now today's session is mainly focused to give you a fundamental knowledge on how to build a RESTful web service, and we'll be starting from scratch and we'll be building a basic RESTful web service. So I want you to open your Eclipse parallelly so that you can execute the codes as I'm explaining to them. So at any point if you do get stuck, I'll be able to assist you with the same. So this is something that is applicable to every one of you. Please make sure you have Eclipse running parallelly. So I've got a confirmation from almost everyone. Vishal is giving me a confirmation. Ayushi, Mayank, Richie, Jane, Deb, Sam. Okay, it's great to see that you guys are quite interested for the session. So let's move forward and discuss the first topic, that is what is an API. Now, an application program interface, or an API as it's better known, is basically a set of different subroutines, different protocols, as well as tools which will help you build an application software. Now, the reason the API is quite popular is because using an API, it becomes very easy for a programmer to build an application as well as use different technologies without actually needing to know how their internal implementation works out. Now, here again, to give you a simple example, let's say your application has to send multiple mailers to different clients. Now there what you're basically going to do is you're going to use a mandrel API. Now what your mandrel API does is it organizes and sends the mail. But to the programmer, he doesn't need to understand the logic of how this mail is being sent, how it is being set, and all the complete functionalities. All he needs to do is that he needs to bring in the mandrel API as part of his original program. Now, while you're building a large-scale application, it makes it quite easy for you to incorporate different technologies as well as features as part of your application by the use of API. Now, even though the developer is not quite sure on how these APIs work, as long as he's clear what these APIs help to achieve, he can use that as part of his program. Now, through API, another key feature that comes into picture is that if you have an API that performs a certain operation, then you don't have to rewrite that as part of your code. And thereby it also reduces the size of your code as well. Now if you look at the image to the right, so here you can see how different environments that are running an application are communicating with each other through the APIs as such. Now all you need to run an API is an environment that supports the application and the API which is part of the application. Now as long as you have met these two requirements, then the API can communicate with respect to different environments as well. So with this, I hope you've got a simple understanding of what is an API. Can you give me a quick confirmation in the chat box? Okay, Richie is clear, so is Ayushi, Jane, Vishal. That's great to see, guys. So please, at any point, if you're not clear, if you do have any doubts with respect to certain concepts, do let me know so that I'll be able to assist you with the same. So all you need to do is at any point, if you have any doubts, make sure you put it in the chat box. Okay, so moving forward, let's try to understand how APIs function in Java. Now, when you talk about APIs in Java, here your definition of API slightly varies to meet the context of Java. Here it is a set, that is a collection of various packages, classes, even interfaces, and their corresponding methods, variables, and constructors as well. So here it comes into the programming language definition. Now in Java at present, that is with respect to your Java 8, there are over 4,500 APIs that are available to developers. Now this is something that is far more than what we'll be able to cover as part of our session. So there comes a point where you need to use these applications. And to help you understand what each of these applications does, the best place to go is go through the Oracle's documentation. Now let me show you Oracle's documentation page. All you need to do is open your browser. Here just search for Java API. So you can see the official document page of Oracle. Once you click on this, you get the complete list of APIs that are associated in Java. So to your left top, you can see the various packages, below that the various classes, as well as the complete description and details of all the packages with respect to Java 7 edition. Now similarly, if you change the URL to 8, Then you get the complete documentation for Java version 8 as well. So these are the updated versions. Now here again you have three categories: compact 1, compact 2 and 3. These are basically the different profiles. So while you're going to use any package as part of your class, to understand what it does, you can always go into the documentation. This is the best place to get the complete understanding of the packages. So let's take the example of Java applet itself. So if you open it in a new tab, let me just do that. So you get the complete details with respect to the interfaces present in this package. You can see the class summary that will help you understand what it is used for, as well as the details. So this is something that was present in Java from JDK version 1. That is, it was something that is part of the core. So I hope with this you've got a simple understanding of how you can check with respect to the different Java APIs, as well as what is an API in Java. Okay, so let me just show you even with respect to classes. Let's say abstract collection class. So when you go into classes, you basically understand which package it belongs to. So java.util is which package it belongs to. This is the class name. Now if you come down, it is something that implements the interface iterable and collections. So you have the definition of the class. Now if you come down, you can see the constructor as well as the methods. You can see even different types of methods. You have instance methods here, abstract methods, as well as concrete methods. So this will give you a complete understanding. You can see the method name, the return type, the parameter it takes, as well as a definition to what the method does. This is something that is definitely recommended to all professionals who are not aware of what the package does. It's always important that you refer the official documents, because all the solutions to your problems can be found here. Okay, so Ayushi has given me a go ahead. So has Richie, Vishal, Deb, Sam. That's great to see, guys. Now, let's talk about what is a REST API and why it is one of the most popular keyword in the present technology. Now, before we talk about the REST API, the representational state transfer, or REST as it's known better as, is basically a web standard based architecture, and it is something that extensively uses the HTTP protocols for communication. Now, when you look at the other style, that is your simple object style, or SOAP as it's better known, REST API is something that uses less bandwidth and is quite popular with respect to web services. Now, because it uses less bandwidth, it again is something that is extensively used in the cloud domain, and now is one of the key factors that is used while you're developing a cloud service. Now, again, when you come down to the different methods that are commonly used as part of the REST API, there are mainly 4 methods that we'll be using. Now, the first is the GET method. Now, before we talk about the 4 methods, there's a keyword that you need to remember when you're talking about a RESTful API. Now, that keyword is resource. Now, this is something that you need to understand in the start itself. Now, what is a resource? It is basically anything that can be named and stored. It could be a specific value, it could be something that you're getting from the user, it could be something that you're sending to the user. Everything that you can operate on and name can be called a resource here. Now, coming down to the 4 major methods that you'll be using as part of your REST application, the first is GET. Now, what GET does is that it takes a read-only access to the resource. That is, whatever resource is coming from the user, it basically reads it. Then comes your PUT. Now, PUT basically helps you in creating a new resource so that you can perform various operations on it. After that, you have delete, which basically means that you're going to delete a specific resource. And then comes your POST. Now, POST helps you to either update an existing resource or create a new resource if it is not present. Now, apart from this, another HTTP method that we will be using is options, which basically helps you understand the various supported operations with respect to a resource. Now, with this, I hope you've got a simple understanding of the REST API as well as the various HTTP methods that we'll be using with respect to our REST API. So with this basic fundamental knowledge that we have talked in the previous few slides, let's move forward and begin our demo session. So I hope Richie as well as the others, you have your Eclipse running parallelly, because we're going to start working with the Eclipse right away. So the first thing that you need to do as part of the demo is you need to download and install Tomcat on your system. Now, to run any web service, you need to have a server running. So for that, what we're going to do is that we're going to use Tomcat as a server on our system. Now, the alternative to this is you can use Google's App Engine, but I'd recommend that you go with Tomcat. And as to the version of Tomcat that we'll be using Tomcat version 8.5. So let me just show you how to download and install this. So if you go back to our trusted friend Google, so here just search for Tomcat installation. So just if you can go to Tomcat download. So this is something that will lead you to Tomcat's homepage itself. Now, go to the first link, because this is something that will help you download Tomcat 7. So we need Tomcat version 8.5. That is the latest stable version as of now. So if you come down here, you can see to your left the different versions of Tomcat that you can download. Now at present, Tomcat 9 is something in the beta version. So again, Tomcat 8.5 is something that I would recommend. So if you go to Tomcat 8, here you can see the different versions that are available. Now, what you need to do is you need to download the core package. Now, if you're using a Linux version, then you can go with the tar option. But if you're using a Windows application, then I recommend that you download the service installer. Now, this is a simple installer that will help you install your Tomcat on your system. So just download it. So it's a very light file. It's just 10 MB. So this is your Tomcat setup. So if you go to next, you just need to accept. Now, don't make any changes here with respect to the same. And here what you need to do is you need to specify the ports on which the Tomcat would be running. So for the moment, don't change any of these ports. And let's say if you want to keep a username and password associated, that is your administrator username and password, then you need to set it here. Now, this is something that I would recommend that you keep just in case something goes wrong with respect to your Tomcat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use admin itself. This is something that is standard. So you can just use the same as well. Again, when you click on next, it basically asks you the location where you want to install Tomcat. Now if you click on next, what it will be asking you is the location of your GRE. Now in my system, it has automatically detected that I'm using Java version 8 and as well as the location of the GRE folder. So make sure you have your Java installed on your system and the correct GRE folder is selected. Now if you don't know where the GRE is located, you can go to My Computers. Now by default, if you've not changed the path of Java, then you can find it inside Program Files and Java folder. So here you have two folders, you have JDK and GRE. We want the GRE folder. So just go inside this and you have the complete path to this. Now this is in case if you've not changed the installation location of your Java while you are installing it. Okay. Now again, the next, once you click on next here, it will ask you the location where you want to install Tomcat. Now I've already installed Tomcat on my system, so I'm not going to redo this. So all you need to do is just click on install and automatically Tomcat will get installed on your system. So please go ahead and do the same, and in case if you're facing any troubles, do let me know so that I'll be able to assist you with the same. Now for you to create a RESTful API, you're basically going to need the Java API for your RESTful web service. Now this is something that you can get from 𝐤𝐶. Now again, if you go back to your browser, open a new tab, go to Google and just search for 𝐤𝐶 download. Now go to the first option that you find here. So this is the home page for 𝐤𝐶. Now the current version that I am going to be using is 𝐤𝐶 version 2.0, and this is a complete bundle. So all you need to do is download this package. This is a zip file and you need to extract it in your folder. So just click on download and extract this folder. I'll be telling you what next you have to do. Okay, so now what I want you to do is go back to your Eclipse. Okay, now here you need to create a new project. So go to the new tab and here you can find the dynamic web project. Now if you're not able to find this in this option here, go to others and you can find it under the web folder, or you can just directly search it here as well. Just click on dynamic web project. Okay, now what you need to do is you need to specify the name of your project. Now let me just call it Java API. Okay, and then you need to specify your target runtime. Okay, now before you do that, now this option may not be available for you at the moment. So what you need to do is that you need to configure the server to your system. So since you don't have Tomcat, what you need to do is go to Windows option here and then go to Preference. Now in Preference, come down to server option and here go to runtime environment. Now here just go to the add option and then select Apache Tomcat version 8.5. Once you click on next, you need to specify the path where your Apache Tomcat is installed, and once you're done on that, just click on finish. Okay, so please go ahead and complete these steps so that you can add Apache Tomcat as part of your server. So if you're facing any troubles, do let me know so that I'll be able to assist you. Okay, so now that you have all configured Tomcat on your system, let's go back and create the new dynamic web project. Let me just rename it as Java API, and then again target runtime, make sure you have selected Apache Tomcat version 8.5. Okay, now dynamic web module needs to stay version 3.1 itself, and then you don't need to change anything here. So just go on to next. So you can see the basic source folder that would be created. Again click on next, and here what you need to do is click on generate web.xml deployment descriptor. This is a very important file that needs to be created while you're creating your dynamic web project. So make sure you have checked this option. Do not directly click finish on the first screen itself. Make sure you've come to the last screen and then selected this and only then clicked on finish. So now you can see my project is created. So you'll have different folders here, but before we go ahead and do anything, we need to add the Java APIs as part of our project. Now go inside the web contents folder and go inside the web-info folder. Now here what you can see is library folder. Now into this folder we need to add all the Java APIs that we have downloaded through 𝐬𝐶. Now you can go back to the folder which was extracted. Now inside this you can basically find 3 folders as well as 2 files. Now what you need to do is that you need to take all the jar files present in this location and add it to your .library folder. So just go into each of them, you can copy it, come back to your Eclipse. Once you've selected it, just paste it. Same with here, copy all and paste it. Make sure you are adding all the jar files present in all the 3 folders inside your library folder. Now this is something that is very important, because if you don't follow this step, then your RESTful web service will not execute properly. Okay, so make sure you have added all these files as part of your library folder. Okay, so now that all of you have added these files, let's go ahead, go back to our Java resource folder. Here you can find your source. Now in my source, let me just create a new package. Let me call it test, and then I'll just click on finish. Now inside my test package, I'm going to create a new Java class file. Now in my Java class file is where I'll be writing the web service code. Now let me just call this hello. Basically the reason for that is this is a simple program that will tell me hello for every time this is going to get executed. Okay, so just click on finish here itself, and then your hello file would be created. So have you guys followed me till here? Clear? So now from here on, what we'll be doing is we'll begin by creating our web service. Now the first thing that you need to do is that you need to create an annotation that will specify the path of this web service. So for that you're going to use the annotation path. You're going to use @ so it's going to be @ path, and then what you need to do is that you need to import the API in which the definition to path is present. So for that, just go and press Control and space. Now this will automatically import the path. So you can see the definition for the annotation @ path is present in javax.ws.rs. So just click on that and automatically it gets included. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to tell my path as the file is present in /hello. Okay, so this basically means is that with respect to my project URL, if I put /hello, then it should point to this location. Okay, so I hope you guys are clear with respect to @ path annotation. Okay, Dave is asking me what is an annotation. Now Dave, I think you had missed out on our previous class where we had talked about annotations, but to give you a simple understanding, an annotation is form of a syntactical metadata. Now this is something that you can add to your Java source code, and this is something that will get translated while you're executing it. Now if you've missed out on this session, then I recommend Dave you go back and look at the recording of our previous class. Now the next annotation that we're going to be using is going to be defined inside my class, and this is our get. Okay, now again the definition for get also has to be included as part of my application. So again Control Enter, and you can see the details. So again it's in the same package, so import this, and you can see import javax.ws.rs.get, that is javax.webservices.restful and get definition. Okay, so who can tell me why we're using get? We have talked about the get resource, so can you just tell me why we're using get here? That's right, because our get reads the resource. So this is something based on the input from the user, you're going to decide and take it forward. So that's the reason we are going to be using get here. So the next annotation is going to be @produces. Now this is basically to tell you what kind of resource is going to come. Now you have different kinds of resource that is going to come. Let's say to understand, to specify which kind of resource that you're going to get, you're going to use media type dot. Now here you can see the different kinds of resource that you can get. So our resource is basically going to be text_XML. That is, I'm going to take an XML formatted data. Okay, so for my XML formatted input, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to define a function that should execute when my resource is of type XML. Okay, so the function, let me just call it public. It's going to return a string to the user. Let's say hello. So this is function that is going to get executed when my resource type is of XML. Now here let me just define a string that is going to get returned to the user. Let's say resource, I'll just give it null and I'll just return this. Okay, so basically in case if my resource type is of XML, that is textual XML, then it's going to return this resource null. Now this is not the actual code, we'll be modifying this. I'll just copy this and then I'll change the resource type that is coming in. So let's say I'm getting a JSON type. So in case if your resource is of a JSON, then what happens is that you need to change the media type for JSON. For JSON it is application_JSON, and I need to modify the name of the function as well. Let's say JSON. Okay, so this is a function that gets executed if my resource type is of JSON. And finally let me just add another one. Now before this you need to add the get function. Don't forget that, that's important because you need to get the resource from the user. Now here my resource type is going to be HTML. So basically I'm taking three kinds of resources, and based on which type my resource is, I'm going to execute a different function. So let me just change to HTML, and then I'm going to execute each of these functions based on what kind of resource I'm getting from the user. Now let's say it's of a type XML. Let me just modify this. Now first thing what you need to do is open a code, specify the version of the XML equal to. Now this is a standard syntax that you need to follow while you're writing this XML code. 1.0. I need to send a hello, so open a new tag. Let's say hi Neil, this is hello from XML, and then I need to close the tag. Okay, now once my resource is of type XML, this has to be returned to the resource. Okay, just save this. Now apart from the XML, let me just modify the HTML part as well. I'll change this to, let's say, h1 hi Neil, this is hello from HTML, and then end the code. Now the final step that you need to complete with respect to your code is you need to import two more application files. Okay, so let's say import javax.ws.rs.application path. Now this is a class that you need to import. Okay, and apart from this, dot again ws.rs.core, I don't want the whole package, core dot application. Now make sure you are importing these two packages as well apart from the standard packages, because sometimes what happens is your application does not run on your Tomcat server. So by including these two classes, your application can definitely run on the Tomcat server. Now again, without including this, sometimes your application may run, but this helps you ensure it 100%. Okay, now with this we've completed the basic coding part. So what you need to do in the next step is that you need to modify the web.xml file for your project. So go back to your web contents folder. Now here open web.xml file. So this is my web.xml file where it is basically defining the welcome file, that is an index.html for my application. Now what we need to do is that we need to include our application as part of this. So for that we are basically going to add a few tags in this web.xml file. Now first thing what I'll be doing is I'll just remove this welcome file list. Now I'm doing this because I don't have a index.html page. Now what I'll do is I'll just add a few tags here. Now I'll explain each one of them. Now these are basically my servlet tags and these are my servlet mapping tabs. So I'll just help you understand the different values that you need to add to this description. Now this is a standard set of tags that you're going to be using for every web application that you're going to be creating. Now first comes the name of the servlet. Now you can name it as per your request, let's say Java API, and then comes your servlet class. Now this is a standard class that you need to import from your libraries. Okay, so go to your libraries folder and then web apps libraries. So here what you need to do is go inside the Jersey container servlet -core class. So inside that you can find the first file, that is org.glassfish.jersey.servlets. Inside that, take the first class, that is servlet container. Copy this, that is copy the qualified name, and then present this. So this is the basic class that you're going to be using as part of your servlet package. So here all the definitions would be present. Okay, then comes your init part. Now here the parameter name is something that is constant, that is jersey.config.server.provider package. Now this is basically tells that the package is my parameter name, and package value is going to be name of the package in which my application is present. Now in our case it is test, so it's going to be test. So we had defined test earlier, that is the name of the package in which my application is present. Now load on startup value is always going to be 1, and then again you need to specify the name of the servlet, let's say Java API, just copy paste it, and then the URL pattern. So the URL pattern, since you are developing a RESTful API, is going to be /rest/star. That is, if with my URL pattern I'm adding /rest/ any name of the file, that means it's going to be a RESTful application that needs to be deployed and executed. Okay, so just save this, and then we are ready to deploy our application on the server. Now to do that, what you need to do is you can go back to your package Java API, right click on it, and then go to the option run on server. Okay, so just click on this and you'll get this pop-up here. So here, since you've configured your Tomcat, just select that, click on next and finish. Now just restart the server. Now since we have not configured the index.html, you may get this error. Now here if you just specify rest/hello, then you can see the output. Now I'm getting the XML output here. This is hello from �XML_Neil. Now the reason I'm getting this is because this is the first function that is present in my web app. So what we're going to do is, to the same code, let me just add another feature. Let me just show you another thing where you can pass a specific parameter to your code, and then that will give you a corresponding value. Now this is my same function which has certain values. Now here what I've done with respect to my HTML feature is that I've specified that it's going to take a certain parameter. Let me just show you this. So here what happens is it's going to take 3 parameters. First one, it's going to take the name, it's going to take the card number, and then it's going to take amount. Now once it's taken these 3 values, then it is going to first print out the name, it's going to print out the amount in my console, not on your web browser, remember that. Then what it's going to do is that it's going to check the value of amount. Now if my amount is greater than 1 lakh, then it is going to print in my console amount is greater than 1 lakh, and then the response is going to get updated to credit card is not approved. That is, if the amount that you're requesting is more than 1 lakh, then your credit card is not approved. But let's say if you are requesting below 1 lakh, then it will print amount is less than 1 lakh and then credit card is approved. Okay, and finally what it is going to return is it's going to return it in a HTML form. So I'll just save this and let me run this. Now if you're running your application on a browser, then by default your resource type is going to be HTML. So I'll just show you how to run this application on your browser. So run on server, restart server. I'll just open a new tab. Now to go to your application in your browser, type localhost / the project name. Now my project was inside REST test, okay, and the name of the application was hello. Now to this I'm going to pass parameters. So you can see here certain parameters that I had already tried out with. Now the first name is set as Neil, the card number is some random number, and I'm just passing an amount of 1000 rupees. If I go this, okay, so I just need to add REST here. So here you can see my credit card is approved. Now same thing, let me just add a few zeros to this, and then you can see the change, my credit card is not approved. So with this, you've seen how to create simple RESTful web service as well as work with a parameters. So basically, for taking a parameters from the user, you're going to use the annotation query params, then followed by the name which has to be passed and the value with respect to which you're going to be storing this parameter. So I hope you guys have tried out this program simultaneously. If you're facing any troubles at any point, do let me know so that I'll be able to assist you. So with this, we come to a conclusion of today's session. So in case if you have any doubts with respect to any points or anything with respect to the demo aspect that you have, please let me know so that we'll be able to clarify it then and there itself. If not, I hope you have a great weekend. Happy learning. Thank you.